I did a video yesterday commenting on Jimmy Kimmel's cancellation because he committed the mortal sin of saying that Charlie Kirk's killer was MAGA. Well, he has been pulled off the air, amazingly. A figure with that kind of platform and reach, gone instantly. A trophy for Donald Trump. So I decided today to just dig down deep into what's going on. A few years ago, I wrote a book called One Eighth of a Man, Hate for the Skin I'm In. And it goes into a lot of subjects fairly deeply. You know, slavery, the history of slavery and how it cripples African Americans today. It goes into the women's rights movement and how that was a fractured movement that didn't apply to all women. But the title, One Eighth of a Man, comes from a Federal Reserve survey of wealth in the United States. And what that survey discovered is that the median black family had a net worth of 1/8 that of the median white family. 1/8. If you put that on a bar chart, that's like this versus this. Also delved into the changing demographics of the United States. It's estimated somewhere in the 2040s, non-Hispanic whites will be a minority in the United States. And the combined minority population of blacks, indigenous people, Hispanics, on and on and on, will be the majority. And that is the fight that is going on right now to prevent that from happening or to delay it. Or, if it does naturally happen, to make sure that that majority minority does not have the economic power and political power that it should have based on the demographic spread. That's the fight that's going on right now. And Charlie Kirk is being used as the litmus test, the purge, the purifier, the strainer. And the reason I say that is the mortal sin of saying that his killer was one of theirs, MAGA. Now, my understanding, unless something changed, I thought the initial information came out that he was a follower of Nick Fuentes, who is more right than Charlie Kirk, that he didn't feel Kirk was extreme enough on the MAGA side. But now that narrative has been flipped with a sustained campaign to paint Tyler Robinson as a leftist. That's all you hear. Now, I don't know who comes up with these talking points. They seem to just go out and then they roll off the lips of all of the MAGA devotees. So the pushback is to keep that majority minority from prospering. They're using Kirk's mantra and words to do so. All the things he said about African Americans not being smart, not having the brain power to be taken seriously. Or if I see a black pilot, he says, man, I wonder if they're qualified or did they basically take some white man's job. Women, he told women that they'd be more fulfilled if they stayed home and had children versus a career. And he said, it's not that great being a partner in a law firm. Immigrants, he said there was a time when we had severely restricted immigration. The United States was better off for it. Again, with black people, said before the 1940s, we were better off and we committed fewer crimes. All these things are being implemented, and they're using the very agencies and watchdogs of the government against us to impose them. The FCC, Federal Communication Commission, was used to help get rid of Jimmy Kimmel because they threatened the stations and the network. A big group of stations said, we're not going to air it anymore. And then right after that, ABC said, we're suspending the show indefinitely. Boom, he's gone. Colbert's gone. Joy Reid is gone. And on and on and on. We will be dominated by a world of, I guess, figures like Kid Rock and figures like Brian Kilmeade, who can say on air in front of everybody that a solution to the mentally ill, homeless, if they refuse help, give them a lethal shot involuntarily, euthanize them, just kill them. And he said the words, just kill them. He didn't get pulled off the air. Matter of fact, nothing was said about it until someone started looking at it and said, wait a minute, did this guy just advocate for involuntary manslaughter of mentally ill homeless people, of which a lot of those may be veterans? So everything you're seeing right now is to ensure that as the demographics change in the United States, that the certain group maintains the economic and political power. That's why the big beautiful bill, so-called, got passed by Republicans in Congress to funnel our treasure up to the group they want to maintain power. The midterm redistricting and gerrymandering going on in multiple states like Texas, like Missouri, is to make sure that even if the population changes goes against them, they will choose their voters to maintain power and strip the power away from those minorities, from the African Americans in the heavily African American population areas, away from Hispanics. And when it comes to women, particularly white women, please break away from the patriarchy. Break away from voting the way your family, your husband, whoever does. I know you risk social backlash from your loved ones, but potentially, but you're setting yourself back to the time when it was okay for someone to say women should remain barefoot and pregnant. That's basically what's going on with Roe v. Wade gone, with some guy out there saying you'd be better off raising kids, with Trump actually at one point saying maybe he would pay women to have children. You're going backwards. You're voting yourself backwards. You've already won these rights and you're voting yourself right out of the corporate suite. I'm just being real with you on that. So we have to come together. And when I say that, I mean African Americans, Hispanics, women of all races, LGBTQ plus, because you know what Kirk thought about your group, and all those things are being echoed and put into place and weaponized at the federal level. Get you out of the military, no gender affirming care to be paid for, on and on and on. So the purge is on, the suppression is on. We have to push back against it. Even this platform is now going under a corporate umbrella. Big corporate umbrella. And the terms of service has changed. For me to get a no FYP page eligibility for the what I consider a mild video, just watch out for what's coming next. They want us to be obedient, afraid, and quiet. But you know, Trump said he loved the poorly educated, and the educated really don't like him. Well, I'm not poorly educated, and I really don't like him, and I won't be silenced, and I hope you won't either. Remember, we're not going to continue to be 1/8 of a man in the future. So you can check this out on Amazon.com. But the fight is on.